Now, there is no doubt about it that there are many celebrities out there that go way too far with their politics and they go overboard, they really do cross the line, and they begin to alienate their own fan base. We've seen this happen with many examples out there. People like Robert De Niro, and even, of course, those like, when you look at George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Alec Baldwin. The list goes on, and now focusing on Mark Ruffalo after the No Kings protest took place and failed miserably, by the way. We know that Mark Ruffalo has been going off the rails in multiple cases, and now even Marvel fans are beginning to actually get very repulsed over Mark Ruffalo and his politics. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now look, this isn't anything new. We know that Mark Ruffalo has been very political for a very long time, whether it's on Twitter/X or in the public eye, but recently he's been getting a lot worse, calling American citizens liars, calling them uneducated, calling them unhinged, and it's only getting worse from this point forward. And the fact that he's going to star in the upcoming Spider-Man film in 2026 and other Marvel movies, it really makes you question, how is he still affiliated with both Marvel and Disney? Let's get into this, shall we? Now, one thing about Mel Gibson is that we know that Mel Gibson has been calling out a lot of these celebrities and politicians and really calling them out on their nonsense. Now, we know that one thing about Mark Ruffalo is that he's right up there with those like Robert De Niro and Mark Hamill. Right to that degree of being very unhinged, going against their own fans, no matter how much consequences come their way, they don't really care at the end of the day. All they care about is getting their point across and, really kind of just forcing their politics down fans' throats. That's really what it's all about. Now, what's interesting here is that with the many celebrities in Hollywood still getting very politically to this day and taking their own careers down to the drain, alright? One major development going on now involves more to do with both Mark Ruffalo and Mel Gibson after Ruffalo decided to mock over half of America after taking part in the No Kings protest. Now, Mel Gibson recently decided to call out Mark Ruffalo in the best way possible. Gibson recently delivered the following. Well, hey, look, man, I mean, it's 2025 now. People have spoken. They don't want DEI. They don't want to listen to all these politically driven actors like Mark Ruffalo. I mean, did you see this guy calling American citizens unhinged, uneducated, and outright liars? I just don't think that No Kings protest was blown out of proportion as well. It really was. And it was a disaster for them in the making, and now you have Mark Ruffalo going off not just at those that are against his politics, but to those that are actually his own fans. He can't seem to get Trump and his supporters out of his head. It's damn embarrassing. And look, I said what I said about Gavin Newsom, but it's a whole different story when you are an actor and you're lashing out this way to the American people. It's not patriotic by any means. And I am a true American patriot. I love this country. I think we are the best country on earth. And to hear Mark Ruffalo calling the United States as one of the worst countries to exist in this year is damn sickening to hear as well. I'm appalled that studios like Disney and Marvel allow themselves to be represented by this man. Mr. Ruffalo is no different than someone like Gavin Newsom. It really boggles my mind that you have someone like Mark Ruffalo hired by Disney because, from what I heard, he's going to be in the new Spider-Man film, is that right? And some other Marvel movies. I don't think Marvel fans would be so pleased to hear the way this man talks, especially to the American citizens. We need to go back to a time where we had common sense, and when things were more controlled and organized in a more professional way. Studios should control their actors from getting way too politically involved in the public view. And look, everyone knows my politics, everyone knows where I stand, but I know my place. I'm no politician. I'm not going to force anyone into my political views. That's where I begin to have issues with others. You can have your different views, that's fine. I know some very smart and fine people out there that have different political views, but they are civil in nature. Now guys, let me just stop right there. Now, the fact that we have Mark Ruffalo saying all these terrible things, calling Americans uneducated, unhinged, and outright liars like Mel Gibson pointed out, we know that Mark Ruffalo is losing a lot of support at a rapid rate. And look, I said this earlier in the video, this is nothing new with Mark Ruffalo, but it is hitting a new, intense level even for Mark Ruffalo's standards. The fact that he is now going off multiple times consecutively shows you that he's beginning to have a real problem with the fact that, well, President Trump is the new president and will be until 2029. And that's just a given fact. We know one thing about all of this, is that Mark Ruffalo, believe it or not, is an actor that is heavily despised right now by a lot of Marvel fans. People are getting very tired of actors like this, as Mel pointed out. People are tired of Mark Ruffalo, Mark Hamill. You know, when you look at the two Marks that both represent Star Wars and Marvel, ironically, they're both Mark. But one thing is for sure, is that they are very much like Robert De Niro. They are very much like Alec Baldwin. They don't know how to control themselves. They don't know where to stop. They don't know when to stop, or really just kind of say, maybe I should back off a little bit. They just keep on going. They don't care about tanking their own careers. Even Mark Hamill himself admitted to this, that he doesn't care if he loses support or fans, and that just goes to show you that they really don't give a damn about their own fan base, or what they actually created over the years, or what the fans gave them, right? After all, it's the fans that gave them their careers. Let's think about that. Now, let's get into the overall tail end of this. Now, Gibson goes on to close. They don't just alienate their entire fan base. In Mark Ruffalo's case, he's really to be made an example of. This is not how you do business. This is absolutely not how you represent studios like Disney and Marvel. Mr. Ruffalo needs to seriously rethink how he displays himself in the public, because people are sick and tired of it all. Just like people are tired of Bruce Springsteen and Robert De Niro. Have you seen these guys? The way that they talk? Mark Ruffalo is no different than them. And it's a shame that they act this way. And it's nothing to be proud of. And you know what? It's true. It's nothing to be proud of. They sound like children when they go off on their political views, when they begin to actually label American citizens as this or that. It does sound very, infantile. The fact that they're doing that. You're actors, do your job and act, play in movies, that's all there is to it. You're not politicians, don't get involved in politics. Now, I think that Mel puts it out perfectly, that he actually, made it very clear that people know his politics, they know where he stands, but he doesn't force people to actually believe in his politics, or he doesn't alienate his own fan base. He doesn't exclude his fan base if you have differing views. That's completely different than how people like Mark Ruffalo, Mark Hamill, Robert De Niro, Alec Baldwin, George Clooney act. That's how they all are. And that's how they always will be. I don't think that these people are going to change at the end of the day. And you know what? It really is quite questionable as to why Disney and Marvel have not fired this man yet. Because what Mark Ruffalo said is a whole lot worse than what other actors and actresses have said before in the past that got fired by Disney. And you know exactly who I'm talking about. So one thing about all of this is that, yes, I think that Mark Ruffalo really needs to get the boot out of Disney. He really does not, need to be affiliated with Disney/Marvel anymore. I think that people are beginning to just really lose interest in this actor in 2025. And look, I get it. He's the Hulk and all. He's, a character that represents one of the most famous Marvel characters of all time. But what's a shame about it is the fact that he's so politically involved to the point where it does actually hinder with your experience of him, playing Bruce, playing the Hulk in the MCU. Overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.